Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. In this video, we're going to go over section 4 of the Doctrine and Covenants. Every missionary and return missionary should be very familiar with this section because we memorize it when we go on a mission. And this is part of our section by section playlist that I'm doing for the Doctrine and Covenants. Here's the playlist. So far, we've done 3 videos. Now we're on our 4th because we're on section 4. We're going to read through this, see what it says in the student manual. So let's go ahead and get into this. Revelation given through Joseph Smith the prophet to his father, Joseph Smith Sr., at Harmony, Pennsylvania, February 1829. So I think it's good. I'm going to do this every video. Let's see where this is taking place for those of us that are geographically minded. We did this in the last video because that was also in Harmony, Pennsylvania, when the 116 pages of the Book of Mormon manuscript were lost. So here's Harmony down here, north of Pittsburgh. Over here is Palmyra, New York. So you can kind of get like a idea where that is. And then just up this way to the northwest of Pittsburgh is Cleveland, Ohio, and Kirtland is in that area, northeast of downtown Cleveland. Okay, so we're in Harmony, Pennsylvania. Here's the state line right here, and here's New York up here. Okay, and then also I thought it'd be good to keep adding to my timeline right here. This is my second coming timeline. These are all, it's basically just a timeline of all significant events to church history, things that I think are significant potentially to the second coming, and just everything. So we just read that this is 1829. So here you see 1829 right here. The year before was when the 116 pages were lost. And then a year before that was when Joseph Smith received the gold plates on Rosh Hashanah, the Feast of Trumpets. I've done a few videos about that. Just look it up on the channel, type Rosh Hashanah or Feast of Trumpets. It'll come up, or gold plates or whatever. Okay, and still a year out from when the church is organized. So the year before the church is organized. We're in Harmony, Pennsylvania. Okay, Valiant Service saves the Lord's ministers. Godly attributes qualify them for the ministry. The things of God must be sought after. And you know, when I memorized this, it wasn't even on my mind that this was a revelation to Joseph Smith Sr. Frankly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest. Full disclosure. I've always thought that these details, of church history, things like Harmony, Pennsylvania, and Martin Harris, and like all these like early details of the early church, they were always very boring to me until now. Because now I'm doing an in-depth study and I have a timeline, and I'm like finally for the first time in my life like really trying to flesh this out in my mind. So, but when I was on my mission, I didn't realize that this was a revelation given through Joseph Smith Jr. for Joseph Smith Sr. So that's interesting. Okay, verse 1. Now behold, a marvelous work is about to come forth among the children of men. 1 year before the church is restored, organized, this is said. Now behold, a marvelous work is about to come forth among the children of men. Therefore, O ye that embark in the service of God, see that ye serve him with all your heart, might, mind, and strength, that ye may stand blameless before God at the last day. You guys, I don't think that this applies only to missionaries, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but actually it's good news. We need to be missionaries ourselves. We need to serve in the church. We need to serve others. One way that you can, at the moment, not being a missionary, or maybe some of you are. I don't know if senior missionaries can I don't know what the rules are for them if they watch YouTube or whatever while they're serving. But anyway, flood the earth. The Flood the Earth campaign. This is a great way to get motivated to share the Book of Mormon and to help others be motivated. Now, these are old numbers. I'm recording this on the 27th, which is Tuesday. But anyway, as of Tuesday, we're at 6,067 copies of the Book of Mormon that have been shared, 610 people that have joined, and then 53 people reporting contact with the missionaries, and then 18 baptisms, which blows my mind. But let's go back to this. Just think about this. You don't have to be part of my challenge, but I would hope that you would want to stand blameless at the last day. Make sure that you do everything that you can. Consecrate your time and talents to the Lord. Share the Book of Mormon, especially since it's never been easier using the Gospel Library app. Go there, click on Scriptures at the top. There's a share button to share the Book of Mormon app, designed for people that are not members of the church, and that focuses on the Book of Mormon. So this is a great way to stand blameless, sharing the Book of Mormon and being a good example, making sure that everybody sees who you are, what you believe, and that you actually live it. All right, therefore, if you have desires to serve God, you're called to the work. For behold, the field is white, all ready to harvest, and lo, he that thrusteth in his sickle with his might, the same layeth up in store, that he perisheth not, but bringeth salvation to his soul. And by the way, right now, there are a lot of ripe and white fields all around me. In fact, the wheat harvest just got underway. So like day and night, no matter when you drive on the highway, and you'll see harvesters literally working day and night, just continual shifts until the harvest is done. So right now, in 2023, the harvest is the literal wheat harvest in the United States is going on right now. And faith, hope, charity, and love, with an eye single to the glory of God, qualify him for the work. Remember faith, virtue, knowledge, temperance. That's a big one. We've been talking about temperance lately. In fact, why don't we look that up really quick, if you don't mind? I'm going to pull up my dictionaries, the 3 that I'm using for the channel. The current Merriam-Webster dictionary, Oxford Learners, and then Webster's 1828. And I'll just read the one here, but I'm going to add this to my spreadsheet where I'm keeping track of all these key vocabulary words. So temperance is moderation, particularly habitual moderation in regard to the indulgence of the natural appetites and passions, restrained or moderate indulgence. As temperance in eating and drinking, temperance in the indulgence of joy or mirth, temperance in eating and drinking is opposed to gluttony and drunkenness, and in other indulgences to excess. And then number 2, patience, calmness, sedatedness, moderation of passion. So the reason why I say we've been talking about this lately is some of us, myself included, have had idealized visions for ourselves and for our how our life is supposed to go, and in some cases grandiose, like just like superhuman, godlike, all powerful, all knowing, rich, whatever your goal is in life. Some people have grandiose desires. Others are more on the normal side, but they still idealize just living a normal life. Like everything's supposed to be normal, nothing's supposed to go wrong. I'm not looking for anything big. I just want everything to go right. And that's wrong too. We have to be flexible. We have to be temperate in our thinking, in the way that we act. And yeah, and watch the things that we desire, the things that we think we should have, and the things that we set our sights on and work so hard for. If we're more temperate, we're going to have an easier time in life when reality sets in, and as reality clashes with our plans, and then we won't be so upset if we're more temperate. rather than having just like these strong desires to do these different things and appear a certain way and so on and so forth. So temperance, patience, brotherly kindness, godliness, charity, humility, diligence. Ask and ye shall receive, knock and it shall be opened unto you. Amen. Okay, so now let's take a look at what it says in the student manual. O ye that embark in the service of God is the title. Historical background. The prophet Joseph Smith wrote, quote, After I had obtained the above revelation, D&C 3, which we did last time, both the plates and the Urim and Thummim were taken from me again. Okay, I'm not laughing at him. That's a terrible situation to be in. The angel Moroni took it away from me again. I messed up again. Okay, but in a few days they were returned to me when I inquired of the Lord, and the Lord said thus unto me. And then D&C 10, which we're not to yet, and we haven't covered yet. Quote, I did not, however, go immediately to translating, but went to laboring with my hands upon a small farm which I had purchased of my wife's father, in order to provide for my family. In the month of February 1829, my father came to visit us, at which time I received the following revelation for him. And it's D&C 4, what we just read. It's so interesting to think that he's like receiving these revelations and I suppose writing them down. I don't know, maybe Martin Harris wrote it down. I don't know, like D&C 4, for example. But he's doing this. Well, I don't know when I have to put the dates down for when the Book of Mormon was translated, but at least in D&C 3, he had received that revelation through the Urim and Thummim, which I didn't know before. And so we had that section of the Doctrine and Covenants before the Book of Mormon was translated. And of course, at that time, it was not known as as Doctrine and Covenants, but it was beginning to be written down. It's interesting. Okay, even though this revelation was given for the prophet's father, it is addressed to all people who would serve God. Elder Joseph Fielding Smith pointed out that while only 7 verses long, quote, it contains sufficient counsel and instruction for a lifetime of study. Yeah, because you know what? These things are not necessarily the easiest things to master. Faith, hope, charity. I don't think any of us are perfect at these things. And sometimes we get like really wrapped up in second coming stuff, for example, and we try and figure out the prophecies and all this stuff. And that's great. That's great, but is it taking away from your focus on these things that are actually important? The second coming will happen, regardless of whether you understand it or not. But I have a feeling that if you're focusing on these things, that is the best way that you can prepare for the second coming. If you're exercising faith and you're having hope, charity, love, I single to the glory of God rather than I single to your house, your mansion, your property, your achievements, your career, your whatever, right? So I think we would do well to really look at ourselves, introspect. I've been doing a lot of that lately, as you can tell if you've been watching my videos lately. And there's so many adjustments that we can make inside of ourselves and really think about these words, write them down if we need to, and find the definitions, and then actually try and live it and put aside our carnal desires, our carnal plans, our idealizations, the buzzword I've been using on the channel, idealizations. All right, so continuing with what Elder Joseph Fielding Smith is saying, no one has yet mastered it. It was not intended as a personal revelation to Joseph Smith, but to be of benefit to all who desire to embark in the service of God. It is a revelation to each member of the church, especially to all who hold the priesthood. Perhaps there is no other revelation in all of our scriptures that embodies greater instruction pertaining to the manner of qualification of members of the church for the service of God, and in such condensed form than this revelation. It is as broad, as high, and as deep as eternity. No elder of the church is qualified to teach in the church or carry the message of salvation to the world until he has absorbed, in part at least, this heaven-sent instruction. So that's probably why they have us memorize this as we go on missions, to understand the things that qualify you for the work. Like, how are you going to have very much success if you're not even qualified in the first place? And of course you don't have to be perfect. Again, we just said that these are like lifelong pursuits, and really this is what we should prioritize and idealize. Again, being flexible when we're not perfect with it, but this should be our priority. So yeah, it makes sense that they would have us memorize this. Okay, let's move on. Notes and commentary. Verse 1, the great and marvelous work is predicted. D&C 6:1, 11:1, 12:1, and 14:1 were also given before the church was organized on the 6th of April, 1830. If the Lord calls something great and marvelous, then it truly is. Though the Latter-day work had small beginnings, it will yet penetrate the entire world of the living and the dead, until every knee will bow and every tongue confess. Elder John A. Widtsoe declared that this prophecy has literally been fulfilled. Quote, unknown, untaught, with no reputation, Joseph Smith should have been forgotten in the small hamlet, almost nameless, in the backwoods of a great state, but he dared to say that the work that he was doing under God's instruction was to become a marvel and a wonder in the world. We know, my brethren and sisters, that whether it be friend or enemy who speaks of us, if he is a sober, thinking, honest man, he will declare that whatever, in his opinion, the foundations of this work may be, we know the foundations, it is a marvelous work and a wonder. None like it in the long history of the world. The truths set loose by the prophet Joseph Smith have touched every man of faith throughout the whole civilized world and immeasurably changed their beliefs for good. So this is in 1946. I don't know. I want to check really quick. I have this timeline, or not a timeline. I have this tab called quotes prophecy fulfillment, where I've taken different scriptures, and this is not complete by any stretch of the imagination, but I have all these scriptures and times when general authorities, apostles and prophets, have said that they've been fulfilled. So I have it organized according to the standard works. So this dark red color, these are scriptures in the Old Testament. Later you have the New Testament, and so on. I don't think I have this one yet. Work and... Oh, I do. Wait. Therefore, behold, I will proceed to do a marvelous work among this people, even a marvelous work and a wonder. Okay, well, I have it here in Isaiah 29:14, and of course this would correspond with what we're talking about. So 1947, George Albert Smith, who at the time was president of the church, he said that it was fulfilled. He says, surely a marvelous work and a wonder has been brought into the world. The scripture has been fulfilled. So I'll have to add this one that we're reading right here as well. Okay, and this was just a year before what we just read. So the student manual, this quote, 1 year before George Albert Smith. So they must have been thinking about this and talking about this. All right, verse 2, serve him with all your heart, might, mind, and strength. This is a way of saying that a person must be totally committed to the work and have no reservation. This commitment involves the emotional, spiritual, intellectual, and physical energy of the person. Other ways of saying the same thing are, quote, with an eye single to the glory of God, end quote, and no man can serve two masters. Again, if you want to make it easy on yourself, not easy, but like easier on yourself, follow this advice. Choose a side. Stop trying to go your own way and create your own kingdom on earth. Focus on God. Still work, still do what you need to do, but focus on this first. Have this be your priority, and then let everything else fall into place as you pursue worthy goals, but not make them the priority over God in the promptings that He gives you and the revelation He gives you as you seek it, hopefully. Verse 3, if you have desires to serve God, ye are called. Does this injuncture apply only to full-time missionaries, or does it apply to every member of the church? If a person desires to serve, must he be set apart as a missionary? Elder George Albert Smith, later the 8th president of the church, showed that this scripture applies to all Latter-day Saints. Quote, my understanding is that the most important mission that I have in this life is, first, to keep the commandments of God as they have been taught to me, and next, to teach them to my Father's children who do not understand them. It is not necessary for you to be called to go into the mission field in order to proclaim the truth. Begin on the man who lives next door by inspiring confidence in him, by inspiring love in him for you because of your righteousness, and your missionary work has already begun. So think about your neighbors, but everybody really. And I would think about, do you have some kind of like long history with your neighbors, some quarrel that's been going on? Man, do not feed into that. Try and be a peacemaker. Try and resolve it. Don't give in to gossiping about that person and vilifying them. There are times where you have to like talk with other people about a situation to help. Well, the goal should be to help find solutions rather than to disparage that person. But there's so many times where I feel like, I've talked to friends and people that I've known, members of the church, where it's just flat out gossip, and it's like a campaign to try and win you over to their side and be against the neighbor or whatever. We should really try and avoid that kind of thing, and rather just counsel together to figure out what the right course of action would be, what the Lord would want you to do. The imagery here is of a field of wheat, no longer green, but a brilliant gold, which almost seems dazzling white in the summer sunshine. Such a sight signified that the time of harvest was at hand. And then it says, see Matthew, Luke, D&C. It has some scriptures here where the imagery the Lord used in this verse is further made clear. In the days of the restoration, thousands were prepared to receive the gospel. So many came into the church that the enemies of the work were frightened. It was not one of a city or two of a family who joined. Whole congregations united themselves with the work. Wilford Woodruff alone baptized over 2,000 converts in less than a year's ministry in Great Britain, which that's pretty wild. Tens of thousands joined with the church during its first decade of existence. Nor is the time of the harvest yet over. The church grew to over 1 million members in 1947, 4 million in 1978, and 11 million in 2000. That year, the church was had over 60,000 full-time missionaries in the field. Truly, the statement of the Lord given in 1829 is still being realized. The field is still white and ready for the harvest. Yeah, in fact, right now we're at like 17 million. Let's see, LDS membership statistics. Okay, actually, let's start with this. So this is from the church newsroom. Doesn't have a date. It looks like 2022. So 17 million 2,461 for total church membership. Missionaries, 62,544, and those are full-time missionaries. And then you also have the young church service missionaries at 2,700. And then on top of that, 27,000 senior church service missionaries. So that's quite a few. Number of temples, like that's a pretty incredible graph. But there's also this graph here. This was the page I was talking about, the Wikipedia page. I guess they probably take their numbers from that same source that we were just looking at. But it has a good chronological record of the church's growth, and it has a graph at the top. And this is what it looks like. So for a time there, it was looking like actually kind of exponential. But what you can see is happening, and it's hard to tell exactly what's going on because of the pandemic. If it wasn't for the pandemic, maybe this would continue to like go up like this. I don't know. Only time will tell. So what I don't know is, since it's starting to not be such a steep curve right here for the last couple of years, is this the time right here, the time of the harvest before the second coming? There's going to be more harvesting after the second coming. Missionary work is going to continue. It's going to continue until everyone either converts to the church or the older generations pass away. At some point in the millennium, everyone is going to become members of the church, but not at the beginning. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this could be any sort of indication that the work before the second coming is now complete. It's like pretty steady growth, and then, oh, okay, that's about as much as we can do. And then second coming. I don't know. That could be wrong. We'll just have to wait and see. But the numbers are pretty amazing. I was born in the early 80s. So let's just go, well, let's go from, it doesn't matter. Okay, so like 4.5 million roughly between 1979 and 1980. And now we're at 17 million. So it is more than doubled in size. It has it tripled in size? Let's see. Let's just do 4.1 times 3. That's 12. So, and then you could do another 4. So it's gotten really big many times over since that time. I can't just do math on the spot. I'm not that good. So it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible. I can't wait to see what the next couple years hold in store. But okay, so let's go back here. Verse 6, attributes to develop for the service of God. Peter, in his injunction to the saints to take upon them the divine nature, quote unquote, lists nearly the same characteristics found in D&C 4:6. Peter encouraged them to give all diligence in developing these godlike characteristics. President David O. McKay applied Peter's teachings to Latter-day Saints. Quote, Peter wrote on one occasion that we might be partakers of the divine nature. He realized what it means to be in touch with the spiritual, to rise above the temporal, the sensual, and partake of the divine Spirit of God. That is the purpose of making us more capable of responding to the Spirit and subduing the sensual. That is why we like to have every young man and every young woman utilize his or her time intelligently, usefully, to bring the soul in harmony with the Spirit, that we all might be partakers of God's Spirit, partakers of his divine nature. I like that. I like that term, divine nature. We all have that within us. We have the potential to fully realize our divine nature. On some level, we are divine. We're human beings. We're God's children. And what we're supposed to do here is make choices and decide where we want to go from here. And the ideal, Heavenly Father's ideal, is that all of his children make it back. But he allows reality to take place, the reality being that he's allowed us to have our agency. He's not going to force us, and then deal with that reality. And it's really sad, and we all have to deal with it. God has to deal with it. We have to deal with it. We have loved ones that are not going to meet their full potential. But, instead of idealizing what they should be, like Satan did in the pre-existence, that everyone should make it back, and I will make it happen. Instead of doing that, thinking about others and not just enforcing your will on the world and upon others, but allowing them their agency. And that's what we're doing. So all we can do is kind of persuade, not manipulate, but persuade, be good examples, be there to teach and answer questions when those situations arise. And yeah. All right, well, that's going to be it for this one. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.